This is the solution for the exercise in Lesson 6, where I asked you to recreate the customer information form from Lesson 4, but this time, instead of using the Visual Designer to place all of the labels and all of the controls and all the values, instead use only code to do this. Now, I'll admit this is a large task because this is the one that I'm undertaking too. So one of the first things you need to do is start in Lesson 4 and take copious notes about every single property that changed on every label. So the first thing you want to do is note the name, and so you can get that from actually here, LBL first name in this case. Then we want to look at the text, for example, because it changed. And you can tell that it property changed and something we're going to need to change in code because it's bold in our properties window. And so let's go ahead and take a look then and scroll down, for example, at the location and the size. We'll need to know those properties as well. Now, the left property is referred to as X, and the Y property is referred to as the top, or vice versa. And then obviously the width and the height. Those are other properties that we'll need to set. So then for every single item, you need to take notes, write down on a sheet of paper, every one of the settings, including, in this case, the items collection that we were able to edit using String Collection Editor. Okay? I want to write those down. And after you've written all this down, then you'll want to create a new project. In this case, I'm going to select Exercise 06. And then what I'm going to do is begin to just drag and drop the number of labels I'll need, just randomly on my form. I think I need at least 4. Select them and just move them over here somewhere. And then I'm going to need at least one text box, one or 2 radio buttons. So let's go ahead and drop those on. Then I'm going to need a checkbox, I know, and I'm going to need a list box. And I'm also going to need a combo box, I believe. And I think I just need 2 buttons, and then I'll be all set. And let's just go ahead and move some things into the general area, but I'm not going to set them exactly where they're at. Now for each one of the items, I want to name them what it was named in the Lesson 4. So to do that, I'm going to, and this is the only thing I can do from the property box, I'm going to go and change the name for, in this case, LBL first name. Here we're going to go LBL gender, and so on. And I'll do the rest of these and pause while I'm so I don't have to record and you'd have to watch me do every single one of these. Alright, so I finished naming every one of the controls. Now what we're going to do is actually start writing code. And what we'll do is double click on an empty area of the form, because we'll want to change the properties for all the controls in the form1_load, since that's kind of the place where we can make all those modifications. So here we go. LBL first name dot text equals first name colon LBL first name dot the first one would be the left property equals 16. LBL first name dot top equals 24. LBL first name dot width equals 64. LBL first name dot height equals 16. Okay, so now we've set everything we need to set for the LBL first name. So we start with txt name dot text equals nothing, because we want to initialize it in that way. Name dot tab stop equals true. txt name dot tab index equals 1. txt name dot left equals 144. txt name dot top equals 24. txt name dot width equals 100, and txt name dot height equals 20. Okay, so I'm not going to make you watch me type every single one of the properties. So I'm going to pause the recording, and in just a moment we'll look at all the code we've written and test it out to see if it worked. Okay, it was a ton of work, but here we go. I just want to point out a few of the gotchas. Basically, everything's pretty straightforward until you get to the LST products and the CBO city. When you get to the items collection, you need to use this word called add. It's a method, and we'll talk about methods a little bit later, but then you send in the actual word like widget, gadget, food, those things that we typed into our properties window in lesson 4. So that might have been a little bit tough for you to figure that one out. Also, the same thing is true of CBO city, and you need to set the text property equal to nothing, or it'll default to combo 1 or something like that. And let's go ahead and move down a little bit further. There was another gotcha near the bottom. By default, the height of the form is only 300 pixels, so you need to increase that a little bit to 350. Plus, the way that you reference the form is through the word me. And we'll talk about why that is at some future point in time. But if you want to refer to form 1, the instance of itself, it refers to itself as me, just like I refer to myself as me sometimes. So let's go ahead and run the application. And there we go. Even the tab order works. Very happy about that. The drop-down list box works. So this was a very complicated example, and I don't blame you if you didn't get all the way through it. But basically, what we could do is this. Let's reopen up exercise 4, and I want to show you that all the code that we've typed in here in this exercise 6, everything, all the top, the left. Now just keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and open up lesson 4, and let's go ahead and take a look at the code behind this. And I'm going to open up this Windows Form Designer Generated Code area, and when I do, I want you to notice what happens here. There's me.lbl first name, all that stuff, and then you scroll down and look what it did. LBL location, name, size, tab index, text. It basically goes through and sets all those things for you so that you don't have to. But the neat thing is that you get to modify all the code that you want to right from here if you ever had a need to. So whatever you do in the properties window actually generates code just like the code that you could write yourself. So that was the only point I wanted to make there. Thank you.